Angel Temple family. This is Pastor Isaac, and I'm here with another morning devotional. I want today to address our role as Christians in the conversations that are being had so regularly right now. And I want to preface with that as best we can, I think that we should try to take down all of our emotional defenses right now. Before we jump into this word, before we jump into what Scripture says, that we would try to subside all of our quick responses, our readied responses, and regardless of our opinions. I want us to be objective in hearing what the Apostle Paul says and consider how the Christian worldview that he describes and exemplifies confronts our natural tendencies that really just want to be so combative and fight other people. I think these tendencies are in all of us. Whenever we get offended and when we're disagreeing with people, we become agitated. We feel personally attacked and we want to lash back. But look at what Paul says to the church in Philippi, Philippians chapter 2, verse 3. This is what he says regarding all people, how we should treat them at all times. He says, Philippians 2:3, "Do nothing out of selfish ambitions or conceit, but in humility count others as more important than yourselves." This is a principle that a Christian worldview that we should have for all people at all times, to count them more significant than ourselves. And Paul really puts his money where his mouth is, so to speak. In Romans 9, if you turn there, the first few verses of that chapter, he actually talks about how he wishes, if he could, he would be accursed from Christ for the sake of his brothers and sisters in the Jewish community, his Jewish brothers and sisters. He wishes that he would be sent to hell for their own salvation. He counted them more significant than himself in humility, a principle that he played out in his own life. And then if we turn to 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 19, he says, "Even though I am free, I've made myself a servant, a slave to all, that I might win more of them." He did that willfully, and it wasn't like he did it begrudgingly. He didn't do it with a sour attitude, but actually we see in Colossians 1:24 that he says, "I rejoice." This is the Apostle Paul. "I rejoice in my suffering for your sake." I rejoice in my suffering for your sake. And he tells the church in Corinth that he willfully takes the role of slave for their sake. So how do we apply what we hear from the Apostle Paul, what we see in the Apostle Paul's life? We should love people. When we are disagreeing with somebody on the other side of the fence, on any issue, take Black Lives Matter, for example. When we're having a conversation with them and they're on the other side of the fence on that issue, or when we're talking with somebody where they disagree with us when it comes to police reform, or when we are debating with an individual about political movements and ideologies, when we're talking about rioting and we're just disagreeing with the other person, we should selflessly, honor that person and count that person to be more significant than ourselves. And I want to say that is not at all to say that we should abandon our convictions or that we should subside truth for the sake of unity. That's not at all what I'm saying. In fact, if we look at Paul said that he would go to hell for the sake of Jews, yet he contended in the synagogues every single day, debating with Jews. He fought for truth, but he loved them selflessly. Paul told the Corinthian church that he willfully would be their slave, yet if you read the book, 1 Corinthians, it is very clear and sharp in his critiques of them. He didn't subside truth. So we can do the same. We can push for truth all the while striving to honor them more than we even honor ourselves. I see so much on social media right now, particularly with politically charged content and posts. There's a lot of slandering, full groups, blanketed statements of people groups, political parties, a lot of slandering of groups. And I just want to say this offers no constructive input. This really is nothing more than personal attacks that take us farther away from productive conversation. And so as we look at the Apostle Paul, as we look at what he says to us and what he exemplifies in his own life, I'd encourage you that we should love people, that we should represent truth, but we should kill personal attacks, and that we should be people that represent truth and love and humility. God bless.